So we're joined today by Joni Nelson with Kentucky State University, and she's here to discuss their funding opportunities. Joni, if you're ready, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you very much, James, for having me today. I really appreciate it. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Center for Sustainability of Farms and Families and some of the programs we have here at Kentucky State University, mainly the Small Scale Farm Grant. So first, we're going to talk about the fact that the Small Farm Grant has 6 priority areas where you can get funding between $5,000 and $10,000 lifetime max. So you can get up to $5,000 at a time with a $10,000 lifetime max, except for the farmer education category, which you can get up to $500 for a lifetime max, but you don't have to get it all at the same time. The different categories are aquaculture, food insecure, value added, certified organic, and the new one this year is agroforestry. So in order to be eligible for the grant, you have to be a Kentucky farm. So you have to actually be farming in Kentucky with gross sales between $1,000 and $250,000. That's kind of self-declaration that we ask for, and we don't typically ask for verification. So if you're seeking organic certification with Kentucky, you can also apply for the grant. And if you want to, apply for some new ventures, maybe you're looking into starting something and you want to get some education behind you before you start something new on your farm, you can apply for the educational funds for that. And for the educational funds, we cover workshops, conferences, online trainings. We've covered a lot of online trainings over the past several months. Reference materials, so books and things like that as well. It actually pays for mileage. If you're going somewhere up to 41 cents per mile, it'll pay for your registrations, it'll pay for your hotels, things like that. It doesn't pay for food, but it will pay for food if it's associated with a conference. Say you get a ticket to the Oak Conference and it's, food is included, that's fine. But it can't pay for you to stop at McDonald's along the way. And you don't actually have to have ag sales in order to apply for the Farmer Education Assistance Program, but we do ask that you apply for something that's going to help you on your farm. The first category we're going to talk about is aquaculture and aquaponics. Now, under this category, just remember no fish, no animals, no research products or projects, no inputs like fertilizers or feed, plants, things like that, and no tractors. We have, however, approved cold storage, steams, aerators, plumbing materials, feeders, tanks, and in some cases, a high tunnel for aquaponic production. You can see from this picture, this is some of the projects that we've approved. Tom Wante and some other aquaponics. We've also done some of these floating beds in ponds, along with the pumps that go along with the ponds. We've done some stuff with minnows, if you're doing minnows, or in pond aquaculture production as well. The food insecure category is another category that we have. In this category, we can cover some production related equipment. But you must operate or sell into one or more of the 77 eligible counties. In this category, we've done small ruminants, poultry, eggs. We've done cold storage in this. Just remember, again, no tractors, no livestock, no consumables, and we'll call these replaceables also. So if it has to be replaced at the end of the grant, you can't purchase it under any category with these funds. And this category actually excludes cattle production. So nothing production related with cattle will fit under this category. And the 77 food insecure categories can be seen here with this map. The map that we have online is a little bit more involved. It's a little bit better because you can see here the Edmondson, Greene, Clark, and Garrett are in red, but those are actually not food insecure counties, and that's why they're in red. Some of the things that we've approved, like I said before, is cold storage. We've approved stuff for sheep and goat, handling equipment, feeding equipment, some nest boxes for poultry production, the egg handlers, different things like that that we've approved under the food insecure. On the bottom down here, Sustainable Berea did a washing and packing shed along with cold storage under the food insecure category. The next category is value added. It's the one that we get a lot of applications for. Think under this category, physical change of state. Am I physically changing the state of something? Milk to cheese, milk to lotion, soaps, freeze dryers, jams, jellies, dehydrators, commercial kitchen equipment, washing and packing and grading equipment are under this as well. This is no production related equipment. No high tunnels, no irrigation, no milkers, no fencing, no things like that, and no consumables, or we'll call these replaceables again, under this category. So we've done a lot of commercial kitchens, some freezers as well, and some sorghum evaporators, even some stuff for some farm stands under this category. The next category we're going to talk about is organic farms. So if you're certified organic, in transition, or exempt, you can apply under this category. Now, this category can cover some production related equipment, but no, no consumables, no plastics, no fertilizers. You wouldn't use those on, herbicides on organic land anyway. No livestock, no tractors. You can do stuff for cattle under this category, but you must prove your organic status. So if you have from KDA something saying that you're exempt or that you're certified, we need that. If you're not either one of those and you're in transition, then we ask that you work with a certifier from the OAK organization, OAK, Organic Association of Kentucky, and submit a transition trainer form, so they can give you a letter of recommendation saying that you're working with a transition trainer, so that we know that you're headed in that in the direction of actually being certified organic. So in this category, also think about those hand tools that you really, really need in organic. We can help you purchase some of those as well. Like this Jang seeder, you can see this. We've purchased the hoops for the low tunnels, not the fabric, but the actual hoops. We've done a lot of stuff for chickens and turkeys and vegetables under this category as well. Agroforestry is the last category that we're going to talk about. It's fairly new. We just added it this past year in January. So under this category, we've moved the maple syrup production, apiculture, so bees and things like that. Any kind of tree nut sap production. Doesn't have to be maple syrup. People use black, walnuts. They all kinds of different trees that you can tap for syrup other than maples. Medicinal herbs, mushrooms, you're doing mushroom farming, ginseng, things like that. Now, this category also does exclude beef cattle and dairy cows as well. This is just some of the pictures that we've done. We've actually helped put up some fencing to keep some bears away from some beehives. We've done some help with some cultivation of some wild ginseng. And you can see Kevin Grotowski over here. He's our Eastern Kentucky contact for the small scale farm grant. He did some foraging of mushrooms recently, and that's his little harvest. We've done, like I said, the sorghum evaporation, reverse osmosis machines for maple syrup under this category as well. So we've been able to reach so many small farmers, mainly in central and eastern Kentucky, that haven't had access to agriculture development funds through their county programs. This is a program based on tobacco settlement money. So definitely thank your KDF funds for that. To date, we've approved about 841 projects covering 109 counties. For a total of just over $3 million. And this program started in 2013. You can see from this map here kind of where we've had a lot of our funds distributed. The darker the color, the green, is where most of the funds have went to. They've got the majority of funds in their county. And you can see a lot of this is like in Eastern Kentucky. So if you have any questions, as always, feel free to give me a call. You can contact me via email, or since we're working from home now, I've developed a Google number. It's 502-783-6814, and you can call me or text me. Sometimes when I'm in meetings or doing recordings or things like that, I can sometimes reach over and just text real quick. So if you have a quick question, that's a good way to reach me. And Kevin Grotowski, he's out in Quicksand. He can also answer some of your questions that you may have. And you can get an application at www.kysu.edu statute.gov/SSFG. It's at the bottom of this presentation. You can see the link to that. If you need an application, you can please feel free to contact me as well, and we'll mail you an application if we need to. One other thing to remember is when you decide what category you're going to apply in, please be sure to fill out that supplemental questionnaire. It is vital to the scoring of your application. Another thing is quotes are great. If you put on your application on your budget, $5,000 cold storage, it's not going to get approved. And we get tons and tons of these applications, and I can't always get back to ones before the review committee comes in, especially if you send it on the day that it's due. And the next date that it's due is February the 1st. We take these applications every other month. So we just had a review session. We'll be having one in February, and then April, and then June, and hopefully in August before we run out of funds and reapply for the next couple of years. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anything. James, am I forgetting anything?
Not that I can think of. I will pull up right quick just because I've got it open, showing them where you can easily access the applications, and just click on, the hyperlinks here. There's the education program application. There's the small scale farm grant, and here are the supplementals that Joni's talking about and referring to that you have to fill out for each program area. And if you have any questions, again, reach out to her. Feel free to reach out to us. Next, we have Bill McCloskey from the Governor's Office of Agricultural Policy, also known as GOAP or GOAP to us, to present their funding programs. And Bill, if you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you, James, for inviting us to be part of the program here and talk to farmers here in Kentucky. A couple of things. First, I want to compliment KCARD and the great job they're doing in working with our farmers and agribusinesses across the state. And for our audience today, if you've never received any benefits from the Ag Development Fund, whether technical assistance or funding, well, you won't be able to say that after today, because KCARD is partially funded from our office, so you're already getting some benefit from funding from the Kentucky Ag Development Fund. And so great opportunity here to be with you today to talk about the resources at the Governor's Office of Agricultural Policy. And you'll find after this program, it's one more good reason to live in Kentucky, to see what we've done with these tobacco funds. We're one of 3 states, Tennessee and North Carolina being the other 2 states, that take their tobacco money they receive every year from the tobacco or cigarette companies and invest it in agriculture. And to date, it's been over $660 million invested in different programs and projects. So James, let's go through the program here and talk about the funding. I mentioned that the funding that comes into the state as part of the master settlement agreement, it all originated out of a lawsuit back in 1998 where the state sued the tobacco companies for misrepresenting what was in cigarettes. Of course, being what I'm referring to is the nicotine, which is an addictive component of cigarettes. And so consumers not being aware of that, and a lot of illnesses related to smoking, those costs have been borne by the states and the federal government. So basically a lawsuit. So cigarette companies have agreed to, as part of the Master Settlement Agreement 1998, to pay the states into perpetuity as compensation. So Kentucky, through 5 governors now and General Assembly over the last 20 years, has continued to commit some of that money to agriculture. So you can see at the top box, the blue box, $112,659,700. This is what we received in 2020. And then you take off the funds to pay for water and sewer debt, gets us down to $80,531,000. And then we start getting into the original legislation of House Bill 611 that basically says split the money up between childhood development and healthcare issues and agriculture. Of course, today what we're talking about is agriculture. That's what we're focusing on to see how the money flows. So you can see what comes into agriculture is $39,883,000. We've got some direct payments to farm to food banks, $500,000. So they use this money to purchase produce seconds and distribute it through their network to the less fortunate. And then Division of Conservation, it has received this year $3.4 million, 2.5 for environmental projects throughout the state, working with their local conservation districts. And of course, I'm sure everybody aware, like Extension Office in every county, we have a conservation district in every county as well. So some of that money flows through the conservation districts for environmental. Then you have the funds that actually come into under the administration of the Governor's Office of Ag Policies. $35,901,700 was for 2020. We expect these funds to be about the same as last year as far as what's going to be available for agriculture. And I'm saying for 2021. So we break that out on the amount we get allocated. What, again, going back to the original House Bill 611, does have a allocation for just the counties based on their burley tobacco. So that's $14,818,660. And we're going to talk about one of the programs that's probably most predominantly in the counties is the CAPE program, County Agriculture Investment Program. About 80% of that $14.8 million will be distributed to farmers through the CAPE program, working with a local entity in the county, namely the conservation district. So 14.8 goes out to the counties. Again, that allocation to your county will be based on your history of burley tobacco. So unfortunately, if you live in Pike or not, you haven't received any of the county money because you didn't have a history of burley tobacco up to this point. We did allocate some state money for counties that hadn't received money or little money in the past. So that's the 14.8, and then the rest of it is $21,083,040 in the state funds to fund a lot of the different state programs like K-Card that you all are familiar with. Their funding would come out of these state funds, as well as several different other initiatives and projects and different programs working with different agriculture entities, organizations, universities across the state. And of course, we have a loan program, the Kentucky Agriculture Finance Corporation. We'll transfer some money into that organization every year, about $5 million. So we've been able to grow that lending authority up to $95 million. So we do have a low interest loan program operating out of our office. So going on to our next slide, James, we'll get into some of our programs. And this is a bullet point of the different programs we're going to talk about today. So just give you an idea here what we're going to be visiting about today. All right, and so we'll go to the next slide, James, and we'll talk about the CAPE program, or County Agricultural Investment Program. And for this year, for 2020, I think just about every county has opportunity to invest their county money in the CAPE program. The way that it's administered is the funds are awarded to a local county entity, and we'll use the conservation district as an example, and they take that block of money and they provide through an application process, they can provide cost share money, half up to $5,000 for a different agriculture activities, production activities in any of these 11 investment areas. There's a lot of detail available on our website, Governor's Office Ag Policy website, agpolicy.ky.gov is in government to get more detail about what's eligible. As I talk to counties that for the first time awarded ag development funds, a couple of areas that piques their interest is areas where the farmers cannot receive cost share from other programs. For example, number 4 is hay structures. That is not eligible in any other program like Natural Resource Conservation Service that I'm aware of, or fencing, which again is available in number 4. So that seems to pique the interest of the farmers in those counties that are able to apply for CAPE money for the first time, because again, there's some eligible items that aren't available in other programs. All right, James, go on to the next slide. Just to give you an idea of how much money has been invested statewide through the CAPE programs since 2019, $151 million in 110 counties. For 2019, it specifically is $14 million with 88 counties participating. The maximum producer amount, while the state maximum is 5, the medium is 3,000. Spend 6 and get 3,000. 90% of them using the state minimum score of 44. So the maximum you can receive on the producer application that you'd fill out is 130. So if you can score 44, then you're eligible for the program. Then we have the different investment areas. We give the local county council working with the administrator the opportunity to identify any of those 11 investment areas as a primary or secondary. What that means, if it's identified as a secondary area, they're only eligible for half of what's identified in the primary area. And then I've been mentioning up at this point, 50-50. You can receive 50% of what you spend. However, counties do have the option to pick the 75-25% option, which means that you can get reimbursed on 75% of a project. So for example, if your county was offering $5,000 in a 50-50, you'd spend $10,000 to get 5. If it's 75-25, you'd only have to spend $6,660 to receive the $5,000. Moving on, we've got a pie chart here that we're providing you to see who's actually administering the program. So 42% of our administrators are conservation districts, 30% are cattlemen's association, 5% extension related, and then 23% are others. So for example, in some areas we might have the local area development district administering the program. All right, next, James. Then we can talk about how a county has the option to prorate the money. So on a prorated situation, you take the block of money. If there was $100,000 and 100 producers applied, then each producer would receive $1,000 on a prorated example. If it was $5,000 per producer, then you just go down the list to to exhaust the $5,000 limit, and then the rest of the producers would be on a waiting in the event that the producers ahead of them that got approved didn't complete the project. All right, moving on. So we have an application process for for-profits, nonprofits, and regional or statewide projects. So for the for-profits that may be providing a service on their farm, let's say it's a retail business opportunity on the farm where farmers can come and sell the product to a farmer that's going to resell it. They may be eligible for 50% of the project costs working through their county council or county money, maybe eligible from state funds, depending on how wide the impact is. On the nonprofit, a little bit more flexible on the matching dollars, but for example, a farmer's market, a high school greenhouse are some of the examples we give. I think at this point we have approved county money for maybe over 50 greenhouses at the high school or middle school level. So the board's been very supportive of greenhouse projects. Again, exposing our youth to horticulture production versus or earlier generations were out working in the tobacco fields. Obviously, that's not an option to earn money after school, but maybe learning some ornamental practices and skills that they could utilize working after hours, or maybe going on pursuing a degree in horticulture production at one of the universities. We also provide funding for regional projects, or provides or statewide, providing statewide services like K-Card would fit into this third arena of eligible funding. All right, James, moving on to our next slide. We always like to show some examples of projects we funded that have been able to be awarded funds, county money, state funds that might provide service to farmers. An example of meat processing, this is an example of a slaughter facility in Bardstown. If you're developing a direct-to-consumer marketing program and it involves meat products or meat protein, obviously you have to have access to a meat processor to be able to process your livestock and sell directly to consumers. So the board realizes that, and we've made money available for several slaughter facilities to upgrade their equipment or expand their operations. Farmers markets is a priority of the Ag Development Board in providing county funds and state funds for a county that may have interest in developing a permanent structure for a farmer's market. So we see the evolution of farmers getting together and selling produce maybe on the courthouse square, and then see the need of having a permanent structure to help with selling out in the elements. And then we're starting to see farmers market structures where they're enclosed, where they can extend the selling season, the farmers market season, earlier in the spring or later in the fall. And then of course the project can be used for other community activities. Moving into agritourism, obviously this is another way to sell products directly to consumers. And so those farmers that have interest in and really the skill set to work with the public are eligible for county money and maybe even some state money, depending on how much farmer market products that they would be buying and reselling. It's all about creating markets for our farmers. All right, moving on to our next slide. Community gardens is a program where county money can be used to support a local community garden. Farmers market, I've talked about that. A fairly new program in our office is on-farm water management program, where a farmer can request state funds, wouldn't necessarily be county money. So if you're looking to make any kind of improvements on the farm that involves better usage or more conservative or more efficient use of water resources on the farm, they can access this program half the cost, up to $10,000. All right, James, moving on to our next slide. On-farm energy program. This is another program, probably in over 10 years now, we've offered a cost share grant program for farmers to make investment in equipment or technology on the farm that's going to result in energy savings. What I see in these projects, some of the best paybacks are upgrading the lighting system, whether it's in a shop, a greenhouse project, a dairy, or a poultry operation. If they're replacing old lights with new lights, there's going to be an energy savings there. And if it's under 25 years, then they're going to be eligible. The farmer's going to be eligible for half the cost, up to $10,000. And our contact on this program, a co-worker that manages this program, is Stephanie Osterman, and her contact information is on the slide here. Okay, James, going on to our next slide. So this is a fairly new program, the Meat Process Investment Program, and this has come out of response of COVID-19, where we're seeing this phenomena of consumers where they've experienced a shortage of food or meat on the grocery shelf, wanting to now buy local. And this is something that's been developing over the years, and it was more of an emphasis here in COVID-19, where again, consumers want to identify or be the ability to buy local. And if you're looking to buy local meat or a meat protein from a local meat processor, then, or you're a farmer that's trying to market directly to consumers, you have to have access to a meat processor. So in response to this demand, the Ag Development Board has set aside funds to help our meat processors in the state be able to expand. So it provides money to purchase equipment that can be purchased fairly quickly here and expand the meat processing. Maybe there's a bottleneck or a choke point in the process and maybe grinding hamburgers, and they can buy a piece of equipment to expedite that process, and helps them process and harvest more livestock at the facility. So we have at this point approved over $1.5 million in projects. And if all these projects do come in, according to what's been projected in our application, we're going to see our harvesting capacity on a beef equivalent basis of about 12,000 animals a year. So we think we're making some progress along those lines. Now, level 1 involves producers that can, meat processors comply up to $20,000 for expenses they've incurred since COVID-19. Level 2, and you see as we go up the levels, there's access to more funds or a higher percentage of your project. So level 2 is for a meat processor purchasing some equipment is eligible for 75% of the project cost up to $37,500. So if they're purchasing $50,000 worth of equipment or improvements, they're eligible for 75% or $37,500. Level 3 gets into large scale processing expansion, or could include equipment as well. So they're going to be eligible for 75% of the project cost, a maximum of $250,000. So those first 3 levels are provide financial incentives for existing processors, again, with the purpose of expediting the expansion or increasing the volume of harvest capacity. Level 4, I think that's the next here on the right-hand side. Level 4, we're providing, the board is structured startups or new purchases or new ownership, a little bit higher standard where they have to meet with the advisory team that includes KCAR, working through them with the business plan, and be eligible for half the cost up to $250,000. All right, so moving on, James, to give you an idea, some of the technical assistance that the Ag Development Board fund. And again, this has been I call it the 20-year agricultural experiment where we've invested over $600 million to help our farmers, think about our mission statement, help them transition out of tobacco production into other enterprises. And to do that, you have to look at, if you're looking to replace lost tobacco income, right? Because we've seen tobacco go from $900 million industry in 1999. Here 20 years later, it's down to $250 million. So it's less than a third. So if you grew tobacco and you're looking to replace tobacco income over the years, there's 3 ways to do it. It's 1, to expand your existing enterprises. It's 2, to become more efficient in what enterprises you're engaged in, or it's to add a new enterprise. For example, based on some budget work or enterprise budget work by some of the professors at UK, some of the economists, Dr. Tim Woods, and specifically, return on investment or return to management for small berries, strawberries, blackberry, blueberry, is $20,000 compared to tobacco, which is $100 return on to management. Pretty significant. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges that go into small berries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, and there's that learning curve. You know, if you're engaged in tobacco production in this generation, that knowledge and those skills set to grow tobacco is passed on from generation to generation. Whereas if you're growing strawberries, there's not that multi-generation transfer of production knowledge. So how do we help you with that? We fund all these different organizations. For example, KCAR, we mentioned, helps with the business plan. The Horticulture Council, they receive funding to provide the technical assistance, and they have horticulture specialists working with our startups and existing to help them identify the challenges in disease pressures or different challenges in growing the small fruits. Obviously, it helps when you've got access to some funding or capital. Kentucky State University has a small scale grant program. Joni's talked to you about that. We fund that program. The Lexington and Louisville local food coordinators, as you expand maybe beyond selling at the farmers market, you may want to sell to institutions. So we funded food coordinators in the Louisville and Lexington governments. I think KCAR, James, has taken on more of that kind of responsibility. So we're glad to see that, where we can help coordinate our farmers that are selling produce or want to sell to institutions and restaurants. UK Food Innovation Systems, again, that's a technical assistance. If you're developing new value-added products, they can help with that as well. Kentucky Highlands, we realize that those grants and loans are an option as well. On the loan side, Kentucky Highlands provides with small producers can access a loan program, $7,500. I think it's 1% interest rate, interest only maybe the first year, and then it's principal and interest years 2 through 7. We're seeing more interest in sheep and goat. We have funded the establishment of the sheep and goat development office, so they can work with individuals, farmers that are looking to invest in this particular enterprise or expanding. It works well with maybe children that may want to get in this business, or younger people, or even somebody that may feel like wrestling with 1,000-pound cattle may more challenge than what they want to take on, but a 200-pound goat or sheep or less is more manageable and fits into their operation. So at one point in our agricultural history, sheep was a major enterprise in the state. So we're starting to see it bounce back a little bit. So we realize anybody may be starting, again, needs that technical assistance to help with that as well in the marketing side of it. Kentucky Proud, again, that's a logo I'm sure everybody's familiar with. It's funded with the tobacco funds, working with the Department of Agriculture. So as you can see, pull all together as a beginning farmer or farmer working to invest in a new enterprise, we'll provide money at the county level to help you actually help pay for some of your production cost. And then we're providing technical assistance and K-Card or these different commodity organizations. We're also help with the marketing part of it, the Kentucky Proud. So consumers see a Kentucky Proud label, they have a comfort level that it's something that's been grown in Kentucky or processed in Kentucky, and that's a way to support Kentucky farmers. In the beef network, working with our cattle producers, we feel like this is a worthwhile investment. When you think about our mission statement I mentioned of helping farmers transition out of tobacco into other enterprises, most of our tobacco farmers also have cattle. So that's another way to look at impacting that, positively impacting that bottom line if they'll work with the Kentucky Beef Network and their fieldmen across the state to implement better management practices of being more efficient in their cattle operation, or implementing better herd health programs, and even marketing the cattle. And they've ventured into selling beef to Kroger, and that process has been supported by the Ag Development Board, and they identify cattle producers across the state that can provide them with cull cows on a certain protocol, and then those animals are processed and harvested and processed at Marksbury farm in Garrett County. We've helped fund that program, and then the hamburgers ground up at Creation Guards we've helped fund, and then it's transported to Kroger. So we've got 80/20 hamburger out on the shelf that's being supplied from Kentucky farmers, and that's what all these investments are about. Again, is creating market opportunities for our farmers. Moving on, James, what's our next slide here? Is talking about the Kentucky Ag Finance Corporation. The Ag Development Board realized 20 years ago they wanted to have access to capital below market financing, which our funds are working through a lender available at 2.75% interest rate. Again, the tobacco money is funding this, so we got zero cost basically into our funding. So that's how we're able to offer 2.75% interest rate. We work with our lenders across the state. We don't compete against them. And what that means is if you're looking to access some of our financing, low interest or below market finance through the Kentucky Ag Finance Corporation, you work with your lender. If your lender is willing to provide financing, then they can make application on your behalf requesting up to half of the cost of the project. We also work with the USDA Farm Service Agency. They can provide financing as well, and also provide guarantees for the lender and Kentucky Ag Finance Corporation funding. So there's a different program that we have. So I'm sure all our listeners would fit in one of these categories as far as funding opportunities beyond just our grants. All right, James, moving on to some examples of our different programs. Infrastructure program, capital improvements on the farm. We can provide half the cost of those improvements, whether it's an agritourism structure or a barn, fencing. We consider that capital improvements. Beginning farmer loan program, about 60% of our portfolio is helping beginning farmers. So beginning farmer definition, somebody that hasn't owned a farm longer than 2 years, draw farm income's less than 175,000 and net worth is under 750, are going to be eligible for half the cost up to $250,000. The diversification through entrepreneurship. Any individual is providing a product or service to farmers can access our program through the acronym, the DEAL program. Ag processing loan program. Objective of this program is to work with farmers or agribusinesses that are buying Kentucky products and adding value to it. So they're going to be eligible for half the cost of the project. So we have been a part of a cheese making operation on a dairy farm for $150,000. We've been part of a $20 million expansion in Owensboro Grain into biodiesel, where we were a $5 million loan. That loan's been paid off, and now we're concentrating on beginning farmers. And then we like to work with the veterinarians across the state that may look at doing some expansion or upgrades to their facility, working with their lender. So a little snapshot of our loan program. All right, James, moving on to, all right, here's an example I was mentioning. The dairy farm, Kenny Mattingly in Barron County. We work with his lender, Farm Credit, to provide $150,000 of over a $300,000 project, converting milk that he produces with dairy cows into cheese. And although this picture may look easy, this is a project Kenny Mattingly's probably been working on 40 years to get to the point where he is. Very successful business, and we're excited to be a part of it with our low interest loan program. All right, James, next slide. Under our beginning farmer program, the Ragland's hog operation in LaRue County, we work with their local lender there for $250,000 to expand their operation. And they're several generations into the farm. Matter of fact, we went down and visit with them. I think we had 4 generations. We met the day that we did a site visit. Very successful farming operation there in LaRue County. Next, James. And that wraps up with some information about our office. And if you want to track what you're doing, what we're doing, there's some information to follow what we're doing. We've got, this is a copy just to help you on our website. We call it KFD Program Portal. So this has got a list of all the programs I mentioned earlier. So you can click on these different programs and get more details. You can see James has pulled up the CAPE program. As I mentioned earlier, the 11 different investment areas. So you can click on each one of those and tell you what is eligible. It's a pretty exhaustive list when you look at all these different 11 investment areas. That last one, value added marketing. So that's one that we've added recently to help any farmers or landowners that are developing a on-farm market program, facilities, retail facilities. We've got funds in that program for marketing and, of course, improvements as well.
Absolutely, Bill. And I'll just add, you've got 11 different program areas. If you're uncertain of which one you fit under, feel free to contact me, feel free to contact GOAP, and we'll be happy to kind of explain what's underneath each one of these, because some of these, like the value-added marketing, will have 3 or 4 different subsections of different things they cover. So it's really extensive it doesn't just really end at 11 things they cover. That's just 11 program or, investment areas
Right.
that'll cover, potentially hundreds of thousands of different types of projects. So we're certainly able to help kind of tease out the details and align you with the correct opportunity.
Yeah, that's a good point, James. And a lot of items that are on this list have been recommended by the agriculture community, the extension agents across the state. So we take input all year and we make a change once a year. That's usually presented to the Ag Development Board in November, and then we roll it out. So we're in the process of rolling out the 2021 CAPE program with a few changes. We're 10 years into the program now, so we're seeing fewer changes or additions going forward, but it's a pretty exhaustive list. And again, everything that's on there has been presented from the grassroots of Kentucky agriculture. So it's being driven, what's being included, what's available. It's being driven by input from the ag community across the state.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, we thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to continued working with you. We have Melanie McPartland with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture to discuss their programs.
Hi, thanks for having me. As you mentioned, I'm Melanie McPartland. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Marketing. And so one of the main things we do is the Kentucky Proud program. So I just want to share that today with you all. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see that okay? Good. There we go. So hopefully most of you are aware of the Kentucky Proud program. We have a growing presence both in our membership as well as our social media platforms. We have currently just over 10,000 members that represent all 120 counties. Facebook, we're approaching 95,000 followers. Instagram, we just hit over 10,000 followers. And on Twitter, we have a decent following with 12,800. Kentucky Proud is the official state agricultural marketing program. It's branded at the point of purchase. It started in the early 2000s, and I think the development board and leadership really had a vision to connect the consumer to agricultural products through the relationships and different I guess aspects of our farming community. And so it represents all kinds of different products. It can be direct from the farm products or value added products. It's a variety of different things. There is a statute that governs the membership eligibility of Kentucky Proud. This is the statute. And so it basically means any farm product that's grown, raised, or produced as a result of being in the business of agriculture. And it goes on to define what those agricultural grown products include further. But the OR was it was much deliberated when they first wrote the statute, and today it means that Kentucky Proud encompasses a lot of things that can just be processed or manufactured in Kentucky. However, the funding that we receive in order to engage and provide opportunities for farmers and businesses that buy from farmers are based solely on that farming ability and community. And so all of our grants and all of our investments and funding really hone in on farm impact and assess that in order to provide grant opportunities to members. So one of the kind of cornerstone grants that we have with the Kentucky Proud program is called our Point of Purchase Promotional Grant. It's, as I mentioned, it's been around kind of since the beginning. It is like a fundamental cornerstone with the Kentucky Proud program, and it really has helped with our brand recognition across the state. So the idea is it's a 50-50 cost share grant. We match your dollar for dollar. It's all based on your farm impact, and so you can capture up to 10% of your direct Kentucky farm impact, up to $8,000 a year with a lifetime cap of $36,000. So in order to be eligible for $8,000, you need to demonstrate that in a year your business has $80,000 worth of direct farm impact in Kentucky. And we reimburse 50% of your marketing and advertising expenses. So that can include things like traditional print advertisements, web and digital advertising, any sort of branding effort that you have. We do labels, packaging, even some demos and food sampling, radio advertisements, billboards, pretty much anything you can think of. And we ask that you use the Kentucky Proud logo in those efforts, and you'll be reimbursed 50% of your marketing expenditures. These are just some quotes from our members that have used them. One of the things that we find with this grant is that, especially in small business and as you grow, these expenses can be a challenge just to justify. And so getting that 50-50 cost share aspect of it really assists small and young growing businesses, as well as the brand recognition for Kentucky Proud. In 2014, the University of Kentucky did a study on Kentucky Proud and found that there was almost 70% brand recognition state to state. So by promoting your products alongside the Kentucky Proud brand, you're really leveraging that brand recognition with the consumer. Another grant opportunity that we have that targets the food service industry is called our Buy Local program. This program originally was called Restaurant Rewards. A couple years ago, we sort of revamped it and reinvented it just to try to get better attrition with the food service industries, as well as benefit farmers more directly. So the idea here is that we incentivize food service, restaurants, catering services, institutional food buyers. If they purchase from farms, they can get a reimbursement on that cost, and that often helps restaurants overcome where maybe buying local is a little bit more cost prohibitive than buying a commodity off of a food broker truck from California, for example. And so again, the restaurant has a year limit and a lifetime limit. It's $8,000 per year, $36,000 over the lifetime of their purchasing. One of the new aspects that we brought to the Buy Local program is that we've partnered with distributors, and so they can actually submit on behalf of the restaurant what they purchased from farms, making it much easier for the restaurant as well as internally for us to be able to process and see those purchases and keep up with the food products. It's a great tool that we found to not just incentivize those buyers, but build those relationships with farmers, and then also use that list of vendors and who everyone is sourcing from locally to promote to other businesses, and try to connect farmers to those opportunities for buyers. Another program that we have with the Kentucky Proud funding we receive from the Development Board is our branding and advertising program. All of these efforts are honing in on again, that direct farm impact community within our membership. And so each year we put together some cohesive campaigns, meaning that they kind of run the spectrum from radio to digital to social. They're integrated across reaching state to state. And we're really trying to connect consumers with our farm products and our farm families, and just kind of capitalize on each season and what those opportunities are to buy local. The last program I just wanted to share today is our Farm to Fork program. This program has run for a couple years now, and this next year in 2021, it will be kind of changed up a little bit. But the idea here was to capitalize on this kind of food movement of these large family style outdoor meals that folks were hosting that often would raise money for nonprofits. So most of these events, they'll sell tickets, raise money for the nonprofit, and then previously we were reimbursing on the purchase of the food for the event. This next year we've kind of changed this more to match the POP promotional grant that I spoke about earlier, so that if you're hosting one of these events, you can get up to $500 reimbursement back on your advertising and promotional efforts to host the event. Obviously, with COVID, we found some challenge in being able to have these types of events. So we've had several groups that have gotten very creative and have done kind of ready meal packs that you can pick up and go with. But again, this is just trying to connect different businesses that want to do charitable opportunities for folks in their neighborhoods and in their communities to connect to farm food and showcase that farm food to consumers. So those are really the only grant programs I have to share with you today that I think are relevant for this conversation. And if you need us, there's our email for Kentucky Proud. We'd be happy to answer any questions or get you connected any way that we can. Thanks, James.
I do just want to add that, Melanie, all these applications are extremely intuitive and short and simple, especially when compared to larger federal grants. So I certainly encourage anyone who has interest in any of the programs to go to the websites or give me a shout. I'll be happy to email you information in the application and assist you through it. It's a very easy application process.
Yeah, most of them are very simple, and they're all on our KentuckyProud.com website. There's a forms library, and each application, including membership, is listed underneath there. Again, and our contact information is up there, so anyone can email us at that agr.kyproud@ky.gov email, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Good deal. Thank you so much for joining us today, Melanie.
Thanks, James.